Well, I'm joined now by the Kenyan opposition leader, RAILA Odinga. Mr. Odinga, you're coming to us live from Nairobi. I don't know if you can hear me, sir. It's Robin Kerner here at the CNN Center. Mr. Odinga, can you hear me?
I can hear you very clearly.
Great. Thank you, sir. You're live on air. Thank you for joining us. You pulled out of this election. It went ahead anyway. Some of the regions, the counties, have not yet voted. What happens on Saturday, particularly in these opposition areas where voting still hasn't taken place?
Well, the Electoral Commission had told the people that they have a choice to participate in the vote or to boycott if they wanted to. And the people of those regions they're talking about opted not to participate in the vote. They opted for a boycott. And we don't know the reason why the government is trying to force them to participate in the elections. So we think that the government is just trying to get an excuse to brutalize the innocent people of those regions.
In terms of what happens next after Saturday, what happens in the next week when results are counted, when election results are possibly announced? They're likely they will give Mr. Kenyatta the presidency because of this boycott. How will you and your supporters react?
You see, this is just a sham because it has basically removed the lid off the can for what Mr. Kenyatta has been claiming. Because hardly 25% of the people turned up to vote yesterday. They are now trying to doctor the figures to increase it. But according to the KIMS kits, which were used to biometrically identify the voters, only 3.5 million people participated in the voting yesterday. That is just about 20% of the total registered voters. So that shows basically that the people don't have confidence. It is a vote of no confidence in the government of President Kenyatta. And if I were him, and I know that in most democracies, he would actually resign or step aside.
If that does not happen and he's announced president again, so how will you and your supporters react? What is it going to look like in Kenya in a week's time when those results are announced?
Well, we have said our constitution, Article 1, says that if the government imposes itself on the people have a right to self-determination. The people have also a right to disobey the orders coming from such a government.
So do you see more street protests and more violence? No, we're not going to go for a violent confrontation with the government. We are going to do a peaceful resistance, not through demonstrations, but through other methods that we are going to announce on Monday. Why wait till Monday?
We are going to, yes. On Monday we will announce a series of measures that we will take in order to bring pressure on this government to step aside.
You boycotted the election. It went ahead without you. Some of your critics might suggest you've been outplayed, that this was a political miscalculation.
It was not, because the ground was not level. We demanded of the IEBC, that's the Electoral Commission, to level the playing field so that we don't go for the repeat of what happened on the 8th of August. They refused. So we had therefore no other choice but to pull out of this exercise, because it would amount to doing the same thing the same way and expecting a different result. And we knew that would not happen. So it was already a predetermined, prearranged, pre-rigged electoral process. And we said it was a waste of time and a waste of people's limited resources.
Just give me some sense of what you mean. You're going to be announcing some sort of measures on Monday. Why wait till Monday? And you've also said, I understand, that your party is going to become a resistance movement, not a political party.
What does that mean? What does that mean for ordinary Kenyans?
That is actually being misunderstood. We have our alliance, which is what we call the National Super Alliance. It is remained a super alliance. It has got branches. One, we have got a parliamentary wing. As you know, we have got members of the National Assembly and members of the Senate. Now we are creating another wing, which is the resistance movement. This is basically going to be involved in civil disobedience, civil resistance, not an armed resistance. So we are going to use all the legal and constitutional means to put pressure on this government to do what we want them to do.
Aren't you then setting up a confrontation? Again, the possibility of direct confrontation. You say it's not an armed resistance, but I mean, many people would submit that the government of Uhuru Kenyatta would see it as that.
No, certainly not. We're going to use the legal means. As you know that our constitution allows for picketing, for striking, for peaceful processions, for protesting and so on, and for boycotts. So we have several other means which are legal and constitutional at our disposal, which we will bring into play to put pressure on this government.
Many ordinary Kenyans are tired, there's voter fatigue, they want jobs, they want to go back to their ordinary lives, and they're caught up in this swirl of political crisis that seems never-ending, many of them say to me. Mr. Odinga, I mean, many people have also said that they feel like the political leaders, both you and other leaders, are playing with ordinary Kenyans, that you're setting up ordinary Kenyans to really feel the brunt of possible more violence.
The ordinary Kenyans are actually very, very tired of this regime, a regime that is discriminating against them on the basis of their ethnicity, a regime that is practicing corruption, which has actually messed up the economy of the country. The cost of living is so high and unaffordable for many Kenyans. Unemployment is running at 40%, particularly among the youth and the young. The women folks are not feeling that they are properly integrated in the society. So these are the reasons why the Kenyans want change. And the language that Kenyans are talking about, every other Kenyan you meet will tell you, we want change, we are tired. And that's the reason why our movement is very relevant to the people, because we are championing the cause of the majority of the Kenyan people.
Uhuru Kenyatta has suggested that you two talk, that he's offered up a willingness to have discussions. Would you?
Well, we had suggested talking before the poll. They rejected it. Instead, they were saying that we are looking for the half a loaf. In other words, that we were begging for inclusion in the government. We said no, we only wanted to agree on the ground rules for these elections. And they refused to talk to us. We have always said that we are always ready for a dialogue. But right now we are saying what we are ready to talk about is how a proper election can be held within the next 90 days. That is the only thing that we are ready to talk about.
RAILA ODINGA, live from Nairobi, Kenya's opposition leader. Thank you very much for joining us here on CNN.